So Muay Thai Super Series, I actually initially had that name 9 years ago, and I was going to use it as my promotional name, and then I just didn't kind of like move forward with that name. So then I had another year or two of contemplating doing promotions for Muay Thai, and then Kieran Kennel hit me up to do Muay Thai Grand Prix, but then he moved to Canada, so Philip too asked me if I still wanted to do that for Australia, and did it for 5 years with Darius, and then Darius and I decided to go do our own promotion. So I was thinking about for a name for about 2 or 3 weeks, and then I remembered looking back on my Instagram and I found an old poster on the promo show, and it was Muay Thai Super Series. So I just went and checked the domain, see if it could be registered, and I re-registered Muay Thai Super Series for Australia. I quite like the name, so my plan probably towards the latter end of this year is to do some 4 women, 4 man, and maybe some 8 women and 8 man as well, and have it like a series, you know, not in one night, maybe 2 fighters go through to the next round and then the final, but do that over 2 or 3 promotions, you know, not just on the same night, which I did before, which I quite like that format. Because sometimes if you do a format like a 4-man or an 8-man in one night, sometimes you get injured and it's the look of the draw. But I think if you do a 4 or an 8 woman or 8-man, and then you drop them off to like quarterfinals and then the semi-finals and finals, it kind of keeps the interest on the promotion as well. So that's something I'm probably going to look to do towards the back end of this year, then continue that into next year.
And talking about this year's fight coming up next month of February 22nd.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of the bouts in general and what the card is shaping up to look like?
Yeah, absolutely. We announced just before Christmas and the New Year break, we advertised Joe Ryan and Kongthailand. So it's current super welterweight champion in Kong, WBC champion, versus Joe Ryan, middleweight world champion, and Joe's coming down under to defend his WBC world title against Kong, which I think is a great fight. You know, it's one of the matches I was looking for Joe, who could give him a hard run. You know, obviously there's we talked offline earlier, Josh Hill and Joe Ryan would be a good fight for the UK, but I think internationally, other than Pep Moricott, I think Kong's a good step up for Joe Ryan. And you know, Joe Ryan, as we saw last year, he got UK Fighter of the Year, and he was on a bit of a trailblaze of last year. I think last year was his not come out breakout year, but I think last year really solidified himself as a good stand-up fighter.
So can you tell me a little bit about how you think this fight is going to play out and why people would be interested in watching it?
It's champion versus champion, which is, you know, in itself, you know, champion weight, super welterweight versus middleweight champion. So that, as you know, is the best of the best really, outside of the big fights at one in Thailand. So I think outside of one, it's a really big fight internationally to put on. But in answer to your question, who do I think will win? I honestly try to have a fight or a show best I can close to fights as 50-50. So I think it's going to be a very stylistic Muay Thai kind of fight, because they both kind of like fight on the counter side. So I think it's going to be who's going to be able to counter the counter. So that's what I believe. I always like to gauge a fight after rounds 1 and 2 going into the big rounds, as you know, Matt's 3 and 4. But I think they both got great credentials in terms of skill sets. They both got the similar kind of styles. Joe Ryan's got a beautiful right kick. Kong's very slippery, can move out of the way, he can block and defend, he can clinch. So yeah, I mean, on the night, I'm not sure who's going to win. I believe it's me personally, when I try and match these, I try and match them as close as I can to 50-50. So I think it's a 50-50.
And then can you tell me about the co-main event and what is on the line for that one?
Yep, so that's Neem Kinehan, who fights out of Frank's gym in Manchester. We've had Neem on before, and I always said to Frankie I wanted to bring her back. Last time she fought Shannon Gardner. Shannon just came up close that time, but has again gone on to be a WBC world champion herself at a low weight, super featherweight. So Neem's going to take on Caitlin Tucker, who just won last year the WBC international belt at lightweight. So it's current world champion versus current international champion, and again a very close fight. I've seen both girls close. Caitlin Tucker is very strong. She's a Kiwi, very solid, very strong kicker, strong puncher. Fighting a southpaw in Neem Kinehan. Neem Kinehan is really good on that back foot with a left kick, she can push kick, she's got very good hands, she can clinch. So again, it's a stylistic fight, and if you ask me if I could pick it, it's a close 50-50 fight. That's how I try and match the fights. Not wanting to shape away from giving it an answer, but I think it's a great international fight. We've got, as I said, Neem from the UK fighting Caitlin Tucker from New Zealand, and again it's WBC international champion versus current WBC world champion. So yeah, I'm really excited to see that one.
And you've worked with WBC a handful of times.
Yeah.
Why is the green and gold important to you, and particularly tied to the Super Series?
I like the prestigious of the WBC. It's like the old stadium title belts where they have ranking meetings every month. They keep everybody, up and down the ladder, the top 20 around the world. So they always have the meetings after people have fought and performed, and then they do the rating. So I really like the credibility of the WBC. I also like the colour of the WBC belt. I think it's probably one of the nicer looking belts out there, but also as well just how the WBC operates and tries to push the sport into the global domain. You've seen it yourself, Matt, from when we did the amazing Muay Thai festivals, and you were there at the games last February. Just the opportunities and the progress of the sport and the opportunities for the fighters is good outside of Thailand.
And can you tell me about some of the other fights? I mean, there's going to be a massive fight with Ellie Harber versus Fawn Piggot.
Yes.
Why did you put that match together? What can we expect?
Yeah. So that was an easy one to make because I've got Joe Ryan and Carl Ryan, his dad, coming from Liverpool, and Ellie Harber's just moved to university. She was with Knowles' academy, but now she's studying in Liverpool, so she's training out of that gym. So they made her available for this promotion. So obviously I had Fawn in my gym. Fights at bantamweight himself. They both competed last year at the amazing Muay Thai festival in Thailand, both coming away winners. So, and Fawn has stepped up, in progress and skill set over the last couple of years, and I thought that was a really good hard test for Fawn to challenge Ellie Cursell. I think Ellie's like 10 or 11 times amateur world champion. She's had over 120 odd fights, I believe. She's got a very good IQ, very good skill set, similar kind of style to Fawn. Seen them both in action, obviously, and I thought, bringing Carl and Joe and then bringing Ellie along as well to match a fighter from my gym.
Then can you tell me about any of the other fights, and also then we'll talk about the venue itself.
Absolutely, I'll let you into another one. So we've got Prabsuk fighting again, who fought Malcolm Hill. We talked offline about that just before we caught back up. Prabsuk is one of my favourite fighters in Perth right now. He's got a nice, slick MuayThai kind of style, beautiful right kick, nice push kick. He's very slippery, very good skill set. So he's going to match a guy called Jai Van Polen, and he will. Vinny, just in time, you can go next. Jai Van Polen is a boy from the East Coast, a very strong fighter, and I believe he's coming through the ranks, a very young, hungry fighter in Jai Van Polen, and that'll be welterweight. It's a good test, 63.5. So I think perhaps what went up to about 65 before, but it was a little bit heavy for him, but his weight that he likes to fight at 63.5, so I think that'll be a good fight.
And then can you tell me about the venue and what people can expect from being at the show?
Yeah, well, as I said, I always try and make the fights 50-50. We've also got Vincent's fighting on the show as well. He's fighting a boy from Sydney. He's had about 35 fights. We've also got, answer to your question, we've got Saskia Vaughan fighting Naira Boyle from Superbond's brother's gym, Superboy's gym. That's for the WBC national title at lightweight. So there's quite a few big lightweight fights on the show, and there's a lot of girl fights on the show as well. But what can we expect? We'll expect hopefully a good crowd, some good close fights, and some good production.
All right, and if people are interested in buying tickets, where can they do so?
We do tickets online. They'll probably be going online in the next 2 weeks, Matt, and then we send out tickets to the gym. So once the gym starts contact, we post them out as well. But check out the socials in the next week for tickets going online.